Good evening, dear children. Today is the first class for grade 8 English. We are going to read about reading comprehension. Today's class is going to be something fun where we are going to understand what is storytelling and how to do the reading comprehension for your purpose of exams and also in general, because this reading comprehension is not only applicable for your grade 8 but also when you go into college, when you have to write entrance exams for colleges, when you want to do your masters in English, when you want to do your bachelors in English, you have to go ahead with the reading comprehension. So children, before we go ahead with today's lesson, let's listen to a short story. Okay, shall we listen to a short story? Please be active in the chat box. If you like the story, please put a thumbs up. So I'm going to share the screen. I hope everyone is able to view it. So here, today I'm going to start with a story. So if you see over here, we can see the India map here. So this is a story about a little boy who is hailing from the small coastal town called Rameshwaram. Where is Rameshwaram? It is in India. So if you can see very clearly that Rameshwaram is in the country India, Bharat, the country that we all belong to. Okay, so where are we now? We are in Rameshwaram. I'm taking you all to the place called Rameshwaram. It's a small coastal town by the Bay of Bengal. Now, there's this little boy. This story is about a little boy. So let's go ahead and see more about this little boy. So he hails from a small town called Rameshwaram, and let's see what is this. So this boy goes to school regularly. Over there, he has his favorite teacher, Sri Siva Subramanian Iyer. So his teacher is Sri Siva Subramaniam Iyer. So today's class, they are going to talk about, what are they going to talk about? They're going to talk about the flight of birds, how birds fly. They're going to talk about how birds fly. And Sir Shiva Subramania Iyer, what he does, he very beautifully presents the entire concept of how the birds with their wings fly into the sky. It's called the flight of birds. So he beautifully explained the entire concept of how a bird flies into the sky. So isn't it mesmerizing to see how such tiny creatures are able to fly into the sky? So this little boy also is very, very fascinated by this. He was extremely fascinated by this, but he still couldn't understand how do birds actually fly. So he went after school and asked his sir, Shiva Subramanian Iyer, and he asked his teacher, could you please explain to me how birds do fly? I am not able to understand. So when we have doubts, what we should do, we should go about and ask our teachers, our parents, any elder or anyone you think has the knowledge to help address your question. When we ask questions, then only we get answers. So this little boy was also very curious and he asked a question, and this teacher was very good and he also was very interested into this aspect of study. So where did he take? He took the boy across the Rameshwaram lake, and there he showed different birds and how they fly in the sky, how their wings glide, how the beak helps in the aviation, because if there is the beak is pointed, and that's why the bird is able to fly against the airflow. So this everything our Professor Sri Siva Subramania Iyer taught to this little boy. Does anybody know who this little boy is? Can you tell me in the chat box, who do you think this little boy is? He was born on October 15th, 1931 in Rameshwaram. Who is this little boy? Can anybody tell me? Who saw and learned how birds fly? And this little boy, he got so inspired. He was extremely inspired by this story and by this demonstration of how birds fly, that he also wanted to fly. He also wanted to be like those birds and fly like those birds into the sky. So when he studied aeronautical engineering, that's supposed to do with how things fly. Okay, so what happens? He wanted to later join into the Indian Air Force. See, Indian Air Force is the one like how we have Army, we have Air Force, and we have Navy. So he wanted to join the Indian Air Force. He attempted the interview and everything, and there were 8 slots. There were total of how many? 8 slots. You know what was the rank he got, the position that he cleared the entrance test? He came in the ninth place. Just because he missed by 1 point, he couldn't get into the Indian Air Force. You know what happened? He was dejected. He was very sad and he was very low. But you know what he did? That little boy who had grown into a man and had tried to become an officer in the Indian Air Force, he didn't give up. He tried, he failed, and then he started to look for other ways. Do you know, later on in life, this little boy, when he became a man, you know what he became? He became the supreme commander of the Indian armed forces. So, all the armed forces, the army, the navy, and the air force, he became the supreme commander of all this by becoming the president of India, the first citizen of India. Do you know whom we are talking about? Yes, we are talking about nobody but the missile man of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So when Dr. Abdul Kalam started his journey, he was a very little boy from a very small town. He didn't have much resources. He just had the insight and the desire to fly ahead and go ahead in life. And he kept trying. He failed. And again, he succeeded in life. And he kept going on till his last breath. You know, when he passed away, how did he pass away? He was teaching other students. He was addressing a group of students, and that's when he passed away. He passed away doing the most beautiful thing that he loves to do. So such is a man, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the beloved president of India. So here, isn't this an inspiring story? So what do we take from this? No matter where you can come from, you can become the first citizen of India. Yes, so no matter where, if you keep trying and keep your inquisitive mind on, you can keep going ahead. Durga ma'am, can you please translate?
ఓకే మ్యామ్. సో ఇక్కడ మనకి ఎవరి గురించి ఫస్ట్ ఈ స్టోరీ మనకి ఎవరి గురించి చెప్తోంది ఏంటి అంటే, ఒక పిల్లవాడి గురించి చెప్తుంది. ఎవరా పిల్లాడు, ఎక్కడ ఉన్నాడు అంటే, రామేశ్వరం అనే ఒక చిన్న టౌన్ లో, రామేశ్వరం అనే ఒక చిన్న విలేజ్ లో అతను జన్మించాడు. ఆ రామేశ్వరం అనేది ఎక్కడుంది? మనకి ఇండియాలో ఉంది. ఆ పిల్లాడికి ఏంటి అంటే, ఒక రోజు ఒక డౌట్ వచ్చింది. ఏంటి ఆ డౌట్? అసలు పక్షులు ఎలా ఎగురుతున్నాయి అన్నది ఒక డౌట్ వచ్చింది, ఒక అనుమానం. ఎలా ఎగురుతున్నాయి ఏంటి అన్నది అతనికి అర్థం కాలేదు. అతను ఏం చేశాడు? వాళ్ళ గురువు అయినటువంటి శివ సుబ్రహ్మణ్య అయ్యర్ గారి దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళాడు. వాళ్ళ సార్ ఎవరైతే ఉన్నారో శివ సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం అయ్యర్ గారి దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళి, సార్ నాకు ఇట్లా పక్షులు ఎలా ఎగురుతున్నాయి ఏంటి అన్నది నాకు అర్థం కాలేదు, నాకు దీని గురించి వివరించగలరా అని అడిగాడు. ఏమడిగాడు? పక్షులు అసలు ఎలా ఎగురుతాయి ఏంటి అన్నది నాకు అర్థం కాలేదు, మీరు చెప్పండి అని అడిగాడు. అప్పుడు ఆయన ఏం చేశారు అంటే, వాళ్ళ గురువు అయినటువంటి శివ సుబ్రహ్మణ్య అయ్యర్ గారు ఆ దాంట్లో రామేశ్వరంలో ఉన్న ఒక సరస్సు దగ్గరికి తీసుకువెళ్ళారు. దాని దగ్గరికి తీసుకువెళ్ళి పక్షులు ఎలా ఎగురుతాయి ఏంటి అన్నది చెప్పారు. ఆ ఎలా ఎగురుతాయి ఏంటి అసలు పక్షులు అన్నది మొత్తం, అక్కడ రకరకాల పక్షులు ఉన్నాయి, అవన్నీ చెప్పారు. అలాగే ఆయన ఏం చేశారు అంటే, దాని గురించి చాలా ఇదిగా కుతూహలంగా తెలుసుకున్నటువంటి ఆయన ఎయిర్ ఫోర్స్ లో చేరదామని అనుకున్నారు. ఎందుకు? పక్షులు ఎలా అయితే రెక్కల ద్వారా ఎగురుతున్నాయో అలాగే మనం కూడా అలా ఎగరచ్చు అన్న దాంతో ఆయన ఎయిర్ ఫోర్స్ లో జాయిన్ అవ్వడం కోసం ఏరోనాటికల్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ అనేది చదివారు. ఏరోనాటికల్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ చదివిన తర్వాత మనకి ఎవరైనా అంతే కదా, చదివిన వెంటనే మనకి ఉద్యోగం రావాలి అంటే మనం ఎన్నో రకాలటువంటి ఎగ్జామ్స్ అనేవి రాయాలి. అలా ఆయన ఎగ్జామ్ ఒకటి కండక్ట్ చేస్తున్నారు, ఎగ్జామ్ ఒకటి ఆయన జాయిన్ అయ్యాడు. అందులో ఏమైంది, ఎయిత్ ప్లేస్, మొత్తం ఎయిత్ స్లాట్స్ అంటే 8వ ర్యాంక్ వరకు వస్తే అందులో మీరు సక్సెస్ అవుతారు, లేదంటే మీరు అందులో సెలెక్ట్ అవ్వరు అని చెప్పారు. ఈయన ఏమైంది అంటే ఎయిర్ ఫోర్స్ లో జాయిన్ అవడం కోసం ఈయనకి 9th ప్లేస్ అంటే 9వ ర్యాంక్ అనేది వచ్చింది. దానివల్ల ఈయన ఏమయ్యారు అంటే ఎయిర్ ఫోర్స్ లో జాయిన్ అవ్వలేకపోయారు. ఫస్ట్ ఆయన ఏం చేశారు, ప్రయత్నించారు. తర్వాత ఏమయ్యారు, ఫెయిల్ అయ్యారు. మళ్ళీ అగైన్ ఏం చేశారు, ఆయన మళ్ళీ ప్రయత్నించి ఆఖరికి ఫైనల్ గా మనకి సక్సెస్ అనేది పొందారు. ఆయన ఎవరు అంటే అక్టోబర్ 15, 1931 జన్మించారు. ఆయన ఎవరో కాదు, మన అందరికీ తెలిసినటువంటి ఏపీజే అబ్దుల్ కలాం గారు. డాక్టర్ ఏపీజే అబ్దుల్ కలాం గారు. ఆయన ఆయనకు వచ్చినటువంటి మొదట డౌట్ ఏంటి అంటే పక్షులు ఎలా ఎగురుతాయి అన్న దాని గురించి వాళ్ళ గురువు గారి ద్వారా తెలుసుకుని ఆయన అలాగే ఏరోనాటికల్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ మీద ఉన్న ఇంట్రెస్ట్ తో ఆయన ఎయిర్ ఫోర్స్ లో జాయిన్ అవ్వడానికి చేశారు. మొదటిసారి ప్రయత్నించినప్పుడు ఆయన విఫలమయ్యారు. అలా రెండోసారి ప్రయత్నించినప్పుడు ఇప్పుడు ఎయిర్ ఫోర్స్ అవ్వచ్చు, నేవీ, వీటన్నిటికీ కూడా ఈయన పై అధికారిగా అయ్యారు. ఆయన అలాగే చివరి క్షణాల్లో కూడా ఏమైంది అంటే ఆయన చనిపోయే చివరి రోజులో చివరి సెకను కూడా చాలా మంది విద్యార్థులకి ఒక పాఠమో లేకపోతే ఒక విషయం గురించి చెప్తూ చెప్తూ కుప్పకూలిపోయి చనిపోయారు ఆయన. ఆయన చివరి మీది కూడా ఎక్కడ జరిగింది, ఆయన చివరి ఆఖరి క్షణాలు కూడా విద్యార్థుల ఎదురుగుండానే ఆయన ఒక పాఠం చెప్తూ చెప్తూ ఆయన చనిపోయారు. ఈయన గురించి మనం ఈయన నుంచి ఏం నేర్చుకోవచ్చు అంటే గనక అబ్దుల్ కలాం గారు మొదట ప్రయత్నించారు. ఏమయ్యారు తర్వాత, విఫలమయ్యారు. తర్వాత ఏం చేశారు, మళ్ళీ ప్రయత్నించారు. ఫైనల్ గా సక్సెస్ అనేది పొందారు. దీని నుంచి మనం ఏం నేర్చుకోవచ్చు అంటే ప్రయత్నం చేస్తూ ఉంటే ఫలితం అదే వస్తుంది అన్నది మనం నేర్చుకోవచ్చు.
Thank you, ma'am.
ఓకే.
So, students, let's go ahead with today's topic called reading comprehension. So, what does it mean? So, we have made a small pictorial representation here. You can see that here we have a book and we have a brain. This is the human brain. So, when we read a book, we use our eyes. But when we have to understand what we read, we need to use our brain. So, what do we understand from this? Whatever we read, we have to try and understand. So, comprehension is nothing but understanding what we are reading. So, how does reading comprehension work? Okay, so let's see how it works. So, whenever we read anything, we first, when we are in small, we learn the alphabets A, B, C, D. We learn the alphabet, and that we have 26 letter A, B, C, D, E up to Z. Then we learn how to form small words with it, like we learned eat, right? Then we learn to form sentences. I love to eat, right? You learn to form sentences and then gradually you form paragraph. With the paragraph, then you end up reading stories, and then stories are short stories, then you even read novels, which are a longer form of storytelling. So here in reading comprehension, what is it, each sentence that you read, you have to understand the meaning of it. So what we do before reading, we should have the whole process of this reading comprehension has few steps. So there are just 3 steps to it: before reading, while reading, and after reading. So the purpose of reading comprehension is, when there's a paragraph given for exam, you have to read it, understand it, and then write the correct answer, isn't it? Now here, if you see, here we have the book, then you are reading it and then you're trying to understand. But before even you get the book, before reading, you should have the intention of reading. You should want to be read, and then there should be a plan. Like for example, today you want to attend the English class. So what you did, you've created an intention and you created a plan. So this, before reading, this is the first step. You need to have the intention and you should plan what you're going to study, when you're going to study, how you're going to study. This one you will do. Then after that, while reading, what you should do, while reading, you need a purpose. Now what is the purpose of study? Do you want to just read a story, just you want to entertain yourself? Because people read for entertaining themselves, right? For entertainment also they read. Or why we read, we read for the purpose of exam or getting a degree or finishing up a course, like you want to finish your 8th standard and you want to go to the 9th standard. So why we have, for entertainment we can read, for exam, so there's a purpose to it. Now while reading we have to be able to connect with it. Connect as in, is it like any wire that you have to connect? No. What is it? Yes, it's almost exactly like a wire, but this wire is called as neural connection, which happens in your brain. What happens? Whatever new information you are reading, you are putting it inside your brain, and then whatever you already know and whatever new thing you're reading, you're combining that information, and then you're understanding the concept. Okay, so while reading we have to have a purpose and we should be able to connect with the content. Okay, so this is again the process that happens while reading. Now the third thing and the most last thing is, after reading, what happens? After reading you should remember. Now if you have to do a reading comprehension, you read the paragraph, they ask you a question, you should be able to remember what you read. So you have to remember what you read. For being able to remember it better, you should be able to have had connected well with the content. So you have to remember, you have to pause and reflect. What did I say? If they ask a question, okay, where did I read this? What does it actually mean? What is the story trying to tell me? These are the ways where you can pause and reflect. Okay, why did I do that today? These are all pausing and reflecting and taking a moment to again rephrase the thing in your brain. Okay, and if in case you forget, you can reread. Okay, after reading, if you feel you don't know that better, you want to understand that better, you can always reread it. Okay, so these are the aspects, different aspects of reading comprehension. You need to have an intention and plan, you need to have a purpose, and while reading you should connect it with whatever existing knowledge you have, and after reading you should try to remember and recollect it, pause and reflect and reread it. So now I hope everybody has understood what is the basic idea of reading. Okay, and how we understand what we read. The word comprehension should not make you feel dizzy, because it actually means what, understanding what we are reading. Okay, so let's go ahead. I will share a screen, and through an activity we will understand about reading comprehension much better. Okay, just give me a moment. I'm sharing the screen. I hope everyone can be active in the chat box. Please put a thumbs up if you are understanding the content. If you want me to repeat again, you put R in the chat box. I will repeat it again for you. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen. So here we are going to do comprehension questions from the lesson 1. Your lesson is the best Christmas present in the world. You must have already finished reading the lesson. We are taking on simple paragraph from that lesson, and we are going to ask you comprehension questions. We'll answer it together. Okay? You can answer option A, B, C, or D as per what you feel is right. So before I look into the question, let's read this paragraph. Okay, let's read this paragraph together. One of the Germans was waving a bottle above his head. So, like how we are Indians, the people who live in Germany are called as Germans. One of the Germans was waving a bottle above his head. So, we understand even what he's doing, his action. And what did he say? It is Christmas Day. When does Christmas come? It comes on the 25th of December every year. So, what did he say? It is Christmas Day, Tommy. Now, what is Tommy here? Children, what is Tommy here? Tommy is not a name, it is a way of referring to the English people, because it's a very common name among them. It's a common English name, and that's why Tommy is used to refer British soldiers. For British soldiers, a very colloquial name, what they called is Tommy. So when you see Tommy, don't think they're addressing one person, they are addressing a group of British soldiers. Tommy here means it is a group of British soldiers. Back in the day, they used to address like that. Address means call like that. Okay, so please note this down. It is a Christmas day, Tommy. We have schnapps. What is schnapps here? Schnapps is a form of drink. It's a drink which is made from grain. It's a form of German drink which is made from grains. Grains as in wheat, right? So we have schnapps. We have sausage. So who is telling all this? One of the Germans was waving a bottle above his head. It is Christmas Day, Tommy. We have schnapps. We have sausage. We meet you. Yes. So what he's saying? I have a drink. I have sausage. What is sausage? Sausage is a mixed form of meat. So meat as in chicken, mutton, right? All that they will mince it and they'll form like a long tube. They'll form a sausage. That is called a sausage. We meet you. He's asking, can we meet? Yes, he asks again. So by this time, there were dozens of them walking towards us across no man's land. So, what is happening? By this time, there were dozens of them walking towards us. So, what happened? This is a description. One of the German was waving a bottle and he was saying, can we meet you? Yes. And before anybody answers, what happened? These German soldiers, they were walking in dozens. There were dozens of them. What does dozens mean? Dozens as in any group of 12. Dozen means any group of 12 is called as dozen. Okay. So here there were dozens of them walking towards us across no man's land. So where they were walking? They're walking towards us. So who is narrating this? They're walking towards them across no man's land. Who are the people who are they're walking toward? They're walking towards the British soldiers. The Germans are walking towards the British soldiers offering a drink and sausage. So they're walking in the no man's land. What does no man's land mean? No man's land means nobody can claim that land. That land is between two countries. So it is between the two countries, or it can be an area of land where between two people fighting, right? It can be a land between two borders. So if this is one border and this is one border, then here, this is called the no man's land here. Okay, so this is called the no man's land and not rifle between them. So what they were doing, they're walking towards us across no man's land and not a rifle between them. What is a rifle? Gun. It's a form of gun. Okay, not a rifle between them. Little Private Morris was first up. Little Private Morris was the first up. Come on, boys. What are we waiting for? So from the British Army, there was a little boy little Private Morris, who was the first up, yeah, as in he got up first. Okay, come on boys, what are we waiting for? Come on boys, what are we waiting for? And then there were no stopping them, and there was no stopping them. So what happened? Even this people, the British soldiers also started walking. I was the officer. So the narrator, whoever is narrating this, is saying, I was the officer. I should have stopped them. I was the officer. I should have stopped them there and then, I suppose. But the truth is that it never occurred to me I should. Okay, so he is the officer. He should have stopped them, but he didn't realize that he can stop them, right? All along their line and ours, I could see men walking towards one another. So they were all walking towards one another. So the Germans were walking towards the no man land, and the British soldiers, who were called Tommy by the Germans, also started walking towards the no man's land. They all were wearing grey coats and khaki coats, meeting in the middle. What is khaki? Khaki is a wool or a very strong cotton or wool fabric. So it's a cloth. Khaki is a type of cloth which is brown or yellowish in color. And what happens there? It is a cotton or a wool, but it be very thick. Okay. So they were wearing khaki coats and meeting in the middle. So two different soldiers of two different countries, they were meeting in the middle. Middle, which was the middle? The no man's land. And I was one of them. So I was one of them. I was part of this. In the middle of the war, we were making peace. What was happening in the middle of war? So what do we understand from this line? There's a ongoing war, and during Christmas day they all are meeting up in the no man's land and they are making peace. You cannot imagine, dearest Connie. Who's this dearest Connie? So this is actually a letter written by a person to this Connie. So you cannot imagine, dearest Connie, my feelings as I looked into the eyes of the Fritz officer. So they made contact with the Fritz officer who approached me, hand outstretched, as in he's coming to shake his hands. And what did the Fritz officer say? Hans Ulf, he said, grip, gripping my hand warmly and holding it. So he sternly held the hand and gave a nice handshake. I am from Dusseldorf. So he's also telling where he is from. I am from Dusseldorf. I play the cello in the orchestra. Happy Christmas. This is what Hans Wolf is saying to this person who is writing the letter. Okay, so now we've understood what this paragraph is about. Now let's go ahead and answer the following question. Okay, so we understand this is happening during Christmas day. Germans and British people are meeting up in the no man's land, and the German officer, the Fritz officer, is introducing himself as Hans Wolf, and he is also saying where he is from. Okay, so now let's start answering the question. What is the significance of the German soldier waving a bottle? Please answer in the chat box. What is the significance of the German soldier waving a bottle? So, what was the German soldier doing? He was waving a bottle above his head. But what does that mean? Now, here we know that he waved a bottle, that's already given. But we have to understand, we should be able to understand that action. What does that action mean? Is he offering peace? He was offering a gesture of peace and celebration. He was asking for help. Was he, option C, he was threatening the British people? He was mocking the British soldiers? What was the action? Okay, so if you only take the action, he was waving a bottle above his head, he could either be making peace or he might be mocking the British soldiers. But after waving the bottle, what did he say? He said, "It is Christmas Day. We meet you." So it is a friendly gesture. It is a peacemaking gesture. So option A will be the right answer. In comprehension writing, reading comprehension, you will not have the direct answer sometimes. You have to understand what that action might have meant. So here is the right answer. He was offering a gesture of peace and celebration. Now, next, which word best describes the mood of this passage? So the entire passage, what is happening? They are in the middle of war. But what is happening here? They are all having fun, right? So is it violent? Are they having guns? They had not a rifle between them. What is in the paragraph? They didn't have any rifle between them. And again, what? The Fritz officer, what he did? He was warmly holding the hand and introducing himself. I'm Hans Wolf. I play the cello. So, is there any violence in this? No, there's no violence. Is there any suspicion in this? No. Is he asking for help? Is he desperate? No. So the right answer would be hopeful. What will the right answer be? Hopeful. They are hoping to have a good Christmas celebration. So the right answer will be hopeful. So again, the answer was not directly in the passage. You can't just see the passage and write it. You have to understand the intent of the characters. Hopeful. Okay. Now, the third question. To whom is the narrator writing the letter? To whom is the narrator writing the letter? So here the options are his commanding officer, B. Hans Wolf, C. A soldier in the unit, D. Connie, likely a loved one back home. So here we saw this passage. What we do is, so here in the options we have Hans Wolf. But what is Hans Wolf? Hans Wolf is a Fritz officer. The narrator is meeting the Fritz officer called Hans Wolf. So Hans Wolf is not the answer. So here we search for the Connie. So Connie is here. You cannot imagine dearest Connie. So what is it? My feelings as I looked into the eyes. So he's writing to the dearest Connie. So Connie, likely a loved one back home. Why do they think it's a this person Connie is a loved one back home? Because they use the word dearest before Connie. Dearest Connie, my beloved Connie, my dearest Connie. All of this significance endearment. That is, they are very close to each other. So we say option D. So here the answer is in the paragraph, but also with a little understanding from your end. Now, come on, boys, what are we waiting for? What does it suggest about Private Morris's attitude? So, who said, come on, boys, what are we waiting for? Private Morris. So, what does it show about his attitude? What does that mean? A. He's cautious and fearful. B. He's eager and open to the truth. C. He's angry and wants to attack. D. He's confused and hesitant. So, if he's confused and hesitant, would he be the first up? See here in the thing what they talk about here. Private Morris was the first up. So he was the first person to get up and shout, come on boys, what are we waiting for? And there was no stopping. They all started going towards the no man land. So what does that mean? That means that he is eager and open to the truce. Truce, what does the word truce mean? It means peace. Okay, truce means peace. So the right answer would be he is eager and open to the truce. The next question would be, what does the narrator mean by in the middle of the war we were making peace? So what does it mean? The sentence is right here. In the middle of the war we were making peace here. Here it is. But what does it actually mean? Let's understand. A, the soldiers were retreating. What does retreating mean? That the soldiers were going back inside the country that they belong to. No, the soldiers were not retreating. B, the narrator was hallucinating. What is hallucination? That is, he's imagining this. No, that was not the case. C, a temporary and spontaneous ceasefire. A temporary as in it is not for long term, it is for a short term. It will get over in short term. That's what temporary means. And spontaneous as in nobody, no higher authority told, no leader told them, no, no, don't fight, don't shoot bullets today, you please party together. Nobody told that. So it was something which was spontaneous. Ceasefire as in they stopped shooting. Okay. Uh, so a temporary and spontaneous ceasefire was taking place. So C will be the right answer. D option was they had won the war. No, they had not won the war. It was Christmas Day. And they were just meeting up to celebrate Christmas. So it was only temporary. It was only for that one day, Christmas Day. And it was something which was spontaneous. So what will be the right answer? It is option C. So here, okay, students, what do we see here? So here focus on the board. What do we understand that while reading the paragraph, we understood we have to answer the question. So we had a purpose and plan. Now, once we finish reading the paragraph, what did we understand when we are comprehending? When we are comprehending the question, when the questions were there, when the questions were asked, we have to have comprehended it. So what did we do? One, we look for the direct word. For example, if they are saying private Morris, we looked up for that word in the paragraph. We searched it in the paragraph. Searched it in paragraph. Right? This is one thing we do. Second, sometimes that word is itself not in the paragraph. We have to understand. So they gave an action. Like for example, the German soldier was waving the bottle. So German soldier waving bottle over his head. So they asked us, what does this mean? What did they ask? What does this action mean? So again, we have to think. Here, the answer is not directly to it. They asked us about an action. They asked the question, what does this action mean? So, what does it mean? Here, he was asking for peace. He was making peace with the British soldiers. So, here, the action is peace. So this one we have to understand by understanding human nature. So we already know if they do like this, that means they are being friendly. If they do this way, if they act rudely, they shout at us or they beat us, they are not being friendly. If they wave hands or they smile at us, they speak softly and gently with us, they are being friendly. So this and all, how do you know? This and all you know through experience in your life. Okay, so your life experiences for comprehension, you need to know about your life experience. You need some life experience also, and two, the passage in hand. Whatever paragraph they've given for you to read, you have to read the passage and connect it with your life experience and then answer the question. Okay, so we have understood what is the reading comprehension so far. So today, this story, I hope everybody has read it previously. Based on the story, I want to share something about storytelling. Okay, but before that, Durga ma'am, can you just again just give a gist of the last 2 minutes that I told about reading comprehension?
ఓకే మ్యామ్. సో ఇప్పుడు మేడం ఒక స్టోరీ చూపించారు కదా మనకి. ఆ స్టోరీలో ఏం చూపించారు? జర్మన్స్ అనేవాళ్ళు ఒక చోట నడుచుకుంటూ వెళ్తున్నారు. అలా వెళ్తున్నప్పుడు ఒక 2 ఊర్ల మధ్య బోర్డర్ అంటారు కదా! సరిహద్దు అంటాం కదా! అటు ఊరికి, ఇటు ఊరికి మధ్య సరిహద్దు దగ్గర వాళ్ళొక మీటింగ్ అనేది పెట్టుకున్నారు. జ్యూసెస్ తాగుతూ ఒక క్రిస్మస్ డే రోజున సెలబ్రేట్ చేసుకుందాము అని అనుకున్నారు. దాంట్లో ఏం చెప్పారు మనకి? ఆ మీటింగ్ మొత్తం మీద ఒక పారాగ్రాఫ్ మనం చదువుకున్నాము. పారాగ్రాఫ్ మొత్తం ఏం చెప్తోంది అంటే జర్మన్స్ అనేవాళ్ళు 2 ఊర్ల మధ్య సరిహద్దుగా ఉన్న చోట క్రిస్మస్ డే రోజున ఒక సెలబ్రేట్ చేసుకుందాము అని అనుకున్నారు. మనకి దాంట్లో మీరు క్వెషన్స్ చూసుకున్నట్లయితే మనకి డైరెక్ట్‌గా క్వెషన్స్ కొన్నేమో డైరెక్ట్‌గా అడుగుతాడు. కొన్ని క్వెషన్స్ అండ్ ఆన్సర్స్ డైరెక్ట్‌గా ఉండవు. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చూడండి మీకు ఇచ్చిన క్వెషన్స్ వాటిలో ఏమైంది? డైరెక్ట్‌గా అడగడం అంటే గనక మనకి వాళ్ళు ఏం చేశారు అక్కడ అంటే ఒక మ్యాన్ వచ్చి గట్టిగా అరిచాడు. ఏంటి మీరిక్కడ ఏం చేస్తున్నారు కానివ్వండి అని అరిచాడు. తొందరగా వెళ్లి మీరు డ్రింక్స్ అవి తీసుకోండి అన్నట్టుగా ఒకతను అరిచాడు. దాన్ని బట్టి మనకక్కడ ఏమిచ్చాడు? ఆ పారాగ్రాఫ్‌లో ఉన్న ఆ సెంటెన్స్ డైరెక్ట్‌గా ఉందక్కడ మనకి. కానీ దాని ద్వారా మనం ఏం అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి? అతను అరవడం ద్వారా మనం అతను కోపగించుకున్నాడు అనుకోవాలా? ఏం అర్థం చేసుకోవాలని మనం అండర్‌స్టాండ్ చేయాలి. ఆ పారాగ్రాఫ్ మొత్తం చదువుకుని మనము అండర్‌స్టాండ్ చేసుకొని దానికి ఆన్సర్ అనేది మనం ఇవ్వాలి. కొన్ని క్వెషన్స్‌కైతే డైరెక్ట్‌గా ఆన్సర్స్ అందులో ఉంటాయి. కొన్ని క్వెషన్స్‌కి ఏమవుతాయి అంటే ఆన్సర్స్ అనేవి ఉండకుండా కొన్ని కీవర్డ్స్ ఉంటాయి. అంటే దానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి ఏదైనా ఒక వర్డ్ మాత్రమే అక్కడ ఉంటుంది. అక్కడ వీవింగ్ ఏ బాటిల్ అన్నారు. జర్మన్స్ ఏం చేశారు? వీవింగ్ ఏ బాటిల్ అని అన్నారు. దాని అర్థం ఏంటన్నది మనకు తెలీదు. అక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే అతను వాళ్ళ ఫ్రెండ్‌కి లెటర్‌లో ఏం రాస్తున్నాడు అంటే, ఇక్కడ శాంతి కోసము మనము క్రిస్మస్ డే రోజున మనం ఒక ప్రోగ్రామ్ లాగా కండక్ట్ చేసుకుంటున్నాము అని చెప్పాడు. అంటే మీరు పారాగ్రాఫ్ మొత్తం కంప్లీట్‌గా ఒకసారి చదువుకుని, దాన్ని అండర్‌స్టాండ్ చేసుకున్న తర్వాత క్వెషన్స్‌కి ఆన్సర్స్ అనేవి రాస్తాము. అలా రాసే టైంలో ఫస్ట్ కొన్ని సార్లు ఏం చేస్తాడు అంటే, క్వెషన్స్‌కి డైరెక్ట్‌గా ఆన్సర్స్ మనకు అందులో కనిపిస్తాయి. మనం జస్ట్ ఒక 2 టైమ్స్ చదువుకుంటే పారాగ్రాఫ్ ఆన్సర్ అనేది అందులో మనకు కనిపిస్తుంది. కొన్ని సార్లు ఏమవుతుంది అంటే ఆన్సర్ అనేది కనిపించదు. అలాంటి టైంలో ఏం చేయాలి అంటే మనం అండర్‌స్టాండ్ చేసుకోవాలి. అది ఎలా అండర్‌స్టాండ్ చేస్తాము అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఆ పారాగ్రాఫ్‌లో ఒక వ్యక్తి అరిచారు. అరిచారు అంటే అతను ఏ రీజన్ మీద అరిచాడు అంటే కోపంతో అరిచాడా? లేకపోతే మనం ఇలా ఎంజాయ్ చేద్దాము ఫన్‌తో చెప్పాడా అనేది మనం అండర్‌స్టాండ్ చేసుకోవాలి. అది ఎలా అండర్‌స్టాండ్ అవుతుంది అంటే ఫస్ట్ మనం లైఫ్ ఎక్స్‌పీరియన్స్ అంటే మన లైఫ్‌లో ఫేస్ చేసి ఉంటాం కదా! ఇప్పుడు ఒక వ్యక్తి ఉన్నారు. అతను అరుస్తున్నాడు. అతని గురించి ఆల్రెడీ నీకు తెలిస్తేనే కదా! అతను అరుస్తున్నాడా? మాట్లాడుతున్నాడా? అనేది మనకు అర్థమవుతుంది. నెక్స్ట్ రెండోదేంటి? ఈ పారాగ్రాఫ్ చదివిన దాన్ని బట్టి కాంప్రహెన్సేషన్‌లో ఉన్న సిట్యుయేషన్ బట్టి ఆ వ్యక్తి అరుస్తున్నాడా? లేదా మాట్లాడుతున్నాడా? అన్నది తెలుస్తుంది మనకి. సో, ఏదైనా పారాగ్రాఫ్ ఫస్ట్ చదవడం, అండర్‌స్టాండ్ చేసుకోవడం, క్వెషన్స్‌కి ఆన్సర్స్ అనేవి ఇస్తాము. ఓకే మ్యామ్.
Thank you, ma'am.
ఓకే మ్యామ్.
So, children, Whatever story we learned today, we learned about the best Christmas gift in the world. We just saw one passage, but we all would have read that entire story, and it is a very moving story. It's a very moving story. So here I will just do a short recap of that story before we go into understanding the plot of storytelling. So, before we understand what is storytelling, let me share with you the gist of the story. What is this called? A summary or gist of the story. So, here comes, we'll quickly go through the story. So, what we see in this entire story, the best Christmas present in the world, the narrator finds a damaged roll top desk. So, what this roll top desk looks like is it looks like a computer table, or it looks like a table which you find in the receptionist area. So, the narrator finds a damaged roll top desk. So, here you see again it's damaged and it's a roll top desk. Where did he get? He got it in a junk shop. So the narrator finds a damaged roll top desk in a junk shop in Bridport and buys it. So what he does? Where is this Bridport? It's a town in England which is famous for rope making. So they make rope. So that's very famous over there. So in this Bridport place, this narrator lives, and he found a roll top desk in a junk shop. And what is he doing? He's hoping to restore it. Restore it as in he wants to make it better. Okay, while working on it. So what was he doing? He was working on it. When was he working on it? He was working it on Christmas Eve. So while working on it on Christmas Eve, he discovers a secret drawer containing an old letter. So he finds a secret drawer. If you remember the lesson, what happens? He is having a difficult time to open the drawer. So he hits it up and then it opens. And then comes the secret drawer containing an old letter. Where was that old letter? It was in a tin box. Right. So, what was this old letter? The old letter was dated December 26, 1914. So, what was the date of the letter? When was this letter written? December 26 in the year 1914. In the year 1914, World War One was ongoing. Okay, the First World War was ongoing. So, that is the significance of the year. So, it was a letter from a British officer named Jim Macpherson to his wife Connie. So, what happened here? This is the narrator. He was repairing this roll top desk when he came across this letter, old letter in the secret drawer. He saw that the letter was very old, to the year 1914, December 26. Now, from whom this letter? Who wrote this letter? This letter was written by a British officer named Jim Macpherson, and it was written to him, whom? To the wife. So, now let's see how the story goes ahead. Okay. Now here the letter, what now the what is inside the letter? Let's see. The letter reveals a true incident. This really happened from the World War One. From the World War One, we understood that 1914 there was the World War One where the Christmas truce took place. Christmas truce when British and German soldiers briefly stopped fighting. So briefly, as in for a very short period of time, they stopped fighting and exchange greetings. What they did, they exchanged greetings, food, and even played a football match. So they had drinks, sausage, and the schmucks drink, right, in the no man's land. So this and all is written in the letter. Jim describes his encounter with a German officer, Hans Wolf, and they shared humanity. They discovered despite being enemies. So they are enemies. So here you can see this is called the khaki outfit, and then this is around gray green coats, right? So here we see what was the content of the letter, we already saw, right? So the same thing is in this passage. Now let's see what happens. So here, after reading the letter, so they read the letter. Who read? The narrator read the letter, and what did the narrator do? The narrator decides to return it to its rightful owner. Who's the rightful owner? We saw Connie is the rightful owner because it is addressed to her. He finds Connie's house burned and learns from a neighbor that she is now living in a nursing home. So Connie's house is burned, so he is going to a nursing home to find her. When he gives the letter to her, what she does, she mistakes him for her long lost husband. Who is her husband? Jim, right? So she thinks it is Jim and emotionally tells him he is the best Christmas present in the world. Why did she think it's the best Christmas present in the world? Because when was the narrator repairing the desk? On the eve of Christmas, right? So when he met her the next day, it was a Christmas day. So, what do you think about the important aspects of the storytelling? What were the different aspects of storytelling? So, here to understand the different aspects of storytelling, let's look at this diagram. It's like a triangle, isn't it? You know what is this called? This entire diagram is called as the Freytag pyramid. What is it? It looks like a pyramid, no? It's called the Freytag pyramid. Okay, so it is for the plot. Okay, so it tells us about the plot. Freytag's pyramid of plot structure. So whenever you want to write stories, so many of you would be very good at writing. You would want to write good stories, right? So how do I develop a story, ma'am? You might ask me. You might ask me, ma'am, how do I develop these stories? So this Freytag's pyramid of plot structure, you have a pyramid. So you should just remember a triangle. There's a beginning to it and there's a line to the end. Now what have I written? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points to this entire pyramid. Now, what are these 6 points? What are the significance of it? Let's see. Now, whatever story we learned, the best Christmas present in the world, that story which we just read, we will see some of the important points over there. So, what is exposition? What does exposition mean? It means that we are giving a basic idea where that story is taking place. So, for example, we knew that the story is one narrator, he is having a roll top desk, right? And he is from Bridport. So, we understood the place. So, what happened? We know the exposition here, that is the opening where they are giving details about the story, the background information about the story, what and all we know that the narrator is having a roll top desk. He is trying to repair it, it is damaged. And where does he live? He lives in Bridport. That also we learned, right? And where did he get this roll top desk from? He got it from a junk shop. When did he get it? On Christmas Eve, right? So these are the details we saw in the exposition. We understood the character was narrator whose name we don't know. So what was the narrator doing? He got a damaged roll top desk in Bridport in a junk shop. Okay, when did it happen? So who is it? The narrator. What was he doing? A roll top desk. Where was he? He was in the Bridport. And where did he get that roll toss this from? From junk shop. And on when he was doing this? On Christmas Eve. So whenever you try to write a story, what do? You write who, where, what was happening, and when was it happening. So these are the important aspect of the exposition. Okay. Now after that, there was an inciting incident. What was the inciting incident? Tell me, what was it? Can anybody unmute and speak? Can anybody unmute and tell me what was the inciting incident? Can anybody put it in the chat box? What was the inciting incident? Yes, it was he found the secret letter in a secret drawer. As in secret drawer, he found a letter which was very old. Okay, so what did he do? He read it. So what was the rising action? One, he was very excited about it. So what was the rising action? He found a secret drawer in which letter was there, and the letter was about a Christmas truce. So the letter was about Christmas truce. It was a story about the Germans and the British soldiers making peace on Christmas Day through sharing food and drinks, right? So that was the rising action. So the reading that letter and the content of the letter which is addressed to Connie was the rising action, right? Now, what was the conflict? Then during the rising action itself, they had a conflict. What was the conflict? The conflict was the Christmas truce. And another information which was not in the small slide, Connie wanted Connie wanted to be buried with the letter. She wanted to be buried with the letter. So she wanted to be buried with the letter. Okay, so what happened? So this was one of the conflict, right? So climax, what happens? After he reads the story, what does the narrator feel? Can anybody tell me what does the narrator feel here? In the climax of the story, what happened? Yes, the narrator feels compelled to give the letter, to return the letter. So he feels compelled to return the letter. To whom? To Connie. So what happens? Then the falling action starts. So climax, they are reaching the climax. What is the reaching of the climax? The end of the letter is the climax where he feels so moved by the story and that Connie wanted to be buried with the letter. So he wants to give this letter back to the original person whom it was written to, who was Connie. So what was this? This was the climax. Okay, then what happens? Slowly, when the climax happens, slowly the story will come towards an end, right? So that is called the falling action. So the plot is slowly falling down. What is the falling action? He goes to the house is burnt house. Then he finds the nursing home, right? He goes to the nursing home, and then what happens? And he finds Connie. So he finds Connie, right? This is again the falling action. So this is the falling action. After finding Connie, what happens? Connie thinks it is mistakes the narrator as Jim, the person who wrote the letter. Who's Jim? Jim is the husband of Connie, right? So here we also have a resolution. So when we are writing a story, whenever we try to write a story or we want to understand a story, what should we do? See, this all things will help you when you want to write in a participate in a story writing competition, or you want to write a book of your own. If you want to write a novel, what and all will you require? If you want to write a story about how your day was, what is so good about your grandparents' home, you want to write a about your very important day of your life, right? When you have to go to college, when you have to go to universities which are abroad, they will ask you to write a passage about yourself. You have to describe about yourself and your life and things that motivate you. Now many of them get confused, what shall I write in my story passage for my college application? You have to write about yourself. But how do I write about myself? Lot of students are confused when they are applying for college. When do you apply for college? After your 12th grade, right? So what you do, you have to know how to write about yourself. Even to write about yourself, you have to give a background information about who you are, where you are from, and what you are doing currently. Then what was the most important incident in your life, how you grew up as a child. So there's a rising action. What was the turning point in your life, also the climax. Then slowly how you are moving towards your life. So this is exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Now, before you write any story, what you need? You need a theme. So, what is the theme of this story? What do you all think is the theme of the story? It is love, memory, humanity in war. So this is the revolving theme of this story: love, memory, humanity in war, and the lasting power of hope and letters. And the lasting power of hope and letters. So this is what is important about the story. Durga ma'am, can you just briefly explain this?
ఓకే మ్యామ్. సో చూడండి, ఇక్కడ మనం ఒక స్టోరీ అలాగే పారాగ్రాఫ్ చదివాం కదా. ఇదే కాదు, మనం ఏదన్నా మనంతట మనగా మనకి కథ రాయాలి అని అనిపించింది అనుకోండి, ఏదైనా కథ రాద్దాము అనుకుంటే అది ఎలా స్టార్ట్ చేయాలి ఏంటి అనేది మనకు అర్థం కాదు. ఇక్కడ చూడండి, ఫ్రీ త్యాగాస్ పిరమిడ్ ఆఫ్ ప్లాట్ స్ట్రక్చర్ అంటే ఇలా ఈ బేస్డ్ ఆన్ దిస్ పిరమిడ్ స్ట్రక్చర్ లాగా నథింగ్ బట్ ట్రయాంగిల్ కి ఇటు చివర ఎడ్జ్ అలాగే అటు చివర ఎడ్జ్ ఉంది. దీని నేమ్ ఏమని పిలుస్తారు అంటే ఫ్రీ త్యాగాస్ పిరమిడ్ ఆఫ్ ప్లాట్ స్ట్రక్చర్ అని పిలుస్తారు. అంటే బేస్డ్ ఆన్ దిస్ స్ట్రక్చర్ మనము ఏదైనా కథ రాయాలి అనుకుంటే గనక ఈ బేస్డ్ ఆన్ దిస్ రూపంలో మనం కథ రాసుకోవచ్చు. అది ఎలా ఏంటో చూద్దాం. చూడండి, ఫస్ట్ ఇక్కడ ఏమి ఇచ్చారు మనకి, కొన్ని నేమ్స్ మెన్షన్ చేశారు. ఈ ఫస్ట్ ఏంటి, ఎక్స్పోజిషన్. అలాగే నెక్స్ట్ సెకండ్ వన్ ఇన్సిటింగ్ ఇన్సిడెంట్. నెక్స్ట్ రైజింగ్ యాక్షన్, రైజింగ్ యాక్షన్. నెక్స్ట్ ఏంటి, క్లైమాక్స్. నెక్స్ట్ ఏంటి, క్లైమాక్స్. అలాగే ఇంకోటి ఏంటి అంటే ఫాలింగ్ యాక్షన్. అలాగే ఫైనల్ గా ఏంటి అంటే రిజల్యూషన్. అంటే ఈ పిరమిడ్ లాగే మనం ఏం చేయొచ్చు అంటే గనక మనం ఏ స్టోరీ అన్నా రాయాలి అనుకుంటే రాసుకోవచ్చు. బ్రీఫ్ గా చెప్తాను చూడండి ఒకసారి. ఎక్స్పోజిషన్ అన్నారు, దాని మీనింగ్ ఏమీ లేదు. అసలు ఫస్ట్ ఎవరు రాస్తున్నారు, ఎక్కడి నుంచి రాస్తున్నారు, ఏ దేని గురించి రాస్తున్నారు అన్నది ఇక్కడ రాస్తున్నాము. ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఏం చెప్పాను, ఎవరు రాస్తున్నారు, ఎక్కడి నుంచి రాస్తున్నారు, దేని గురించి అంటే దేనికి సంబంధించిన దాని గురించి రాస్తున్నారు అని చెప్తాను. నెక్స్ట్ ఇన్సిటింగ్ ఇన్సిడెంట్. మనం చదువుకున్న ఈ పారాగ్రాఫ్ ఆర్ ఈ స్టోరీలో ఏమైంది, ఇందులో ఒక ఇన్సిడెంట్, మెయిన్ ఇన్సిడెంట్ ఏంటి అసలు, ఒక ఓల్డ్ లెటర్ సీక్రెట్ డ్రాయర్ లో ఉంది. అంటే ఒక ఓల్డ్ లెటర్ అతనికి కనిపించింది, అది సీక్రెట్ డ్రాయర్ లో ఉంది. అలాగే రైజింగ్ యాక్షన్, ఆ లెటర్ దొరికిన తర్వాత అతను ఏం చేశాడు, అది అది దేని గురించి ఉంది అంటే క్రిస్మస్ ట్రీస్ గురించి అది ఉంది. ఆ రైజింగ్ యాక్షన్ ఏమైంది, ఆ లెటర్ దొరికిన తర్వాత అందులో దేని గురించి ఉన్నది అన్నది మనకి సీక్రెట్ డ్రాయర్ లో ఆ లెటర్ క్రిస్మస్ ట్రీస్ గురించి ఉంది. నెక్స్ట్ ఏమైంది ఇక్కడ, ఇంక ఇందులో మనకి నెక్స్ట్ ఫైనల్ గా మనకి క్లైమాక్స్ అనేది వచ్చింది. అంటే స్టోరీ ఎవరు రాశారు ఏంటో తెలుసుకున్నాము, ఎక్కడి నుంచి రాశాడు. అందులో మెయిన్ కీ పాయింట్ ఏంటి అంటే ఒక ఓల్డ్ లెటర్ కనిపించింది. ఆ కనిపించిన ఓల్డ్ లెటర్ లో దేని గురించి ఉంది, క్రిస్మస్ ట్రీస్ గురించి ఉంది. ఇక్కడ ఇంకొక రైజింగ్ యాక్షన్ ఏమైందో చూడండి, కానీ బరీడ్ విత్ ద లెటర్ కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్. అంటే కాన్ఫ్లిక్ట్ అక్కడ దేని గురించి మెన్షన్ చేశారు అంటే ఒక రెండు ఊళ్ళ మధ్య జరుగుతున్న గొడవ గురించి ఆ లెటర్ లో మెన్షన్ అయి ఉంది. ఫైనల్ గా క్లైమాక్స్ ఏమైంది, నారేటర్ ఫీల్స్ కంపెల్డ్ టు రిటర్న్ టు ద లెటర్ టు కానీ. నారేటర్ ఏమనుకున్నాడు అంటే కానీకి ఈ లెటర్ ఇచ్చేద్దాము అని అనుకున్నాడు. అందులో లెటర్ దొరికింది కదా, అంటే ఫైనల్ గా క్లైమాక్స్ ఏమైంది, మనకి లెటర్ ఇచ్చేద్దాము అనుకున్నాడు. ఇక్కడ స్టార్ట్ అయిన స్టోరీ క్లైమాక్స్ కి వచ్చేసరికి మనకేమైంది, నారేటర్ ఏం ఫీల్ అయ్యాడు, లెటర్ కానీకి రిటర్న్ చేద్దాము అనుకున్నాడు. ఫాలింగ్ యాక్షన్ ఏం జరిగింది మనకి, ఆ కానీ ఎక్కడుంది అంటే వాళ్ళ హౌస్ అనేది కాలిపోయింది. ఆవిడ ఎక్కడ ఉంటుంది అంటే నర్సింగ్ హోమ్ లో ఉంటుంది. ఆవిడ ఎక్కడ ఉంటుంది, నర్సింగ్ హోమ్ లో ఉంటుంది. ఫైనల్ గా మనకి రిజల్యూషన్ ఏం జరిగింది అంటే గనక కానీ మిస్టేక్స్ ద నారేటర్ యాజ్ జిమ్. కానీ ఏమనుకుంది, నారేటర్, ఆ నారేటర్ ఎవరు అనుకుంది అంటే గనక జిమ్, తన హస్బెండ్ అని అనుకుంది. ఈ స్టోరీ మొత్తానికి మనకి ఇక్కడ ఈ స్టోరీనే కాదు, మనం దేని గురించైనా స్టోరీ రాయాలి అంటే ఈ 6 పాయింట్స్ అనేవి మెయిన్ గా అవసరం మనకి. ఎక్స్పోజిషన్, ఇన్సిటింగ్ ఇన్సిడెంట్, రైజింగ్ యాక్షన్, క్లైమాక్స్, ఫాలింగ్ యాక్షన్, అలాగే రిజల్యూషన్. ఎగ్జాంపుల్ కి మన చదువు ఇంటర్మీడియట్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత మనము విదేశాలకు వెళ్ళి చదువుకోవాలి అనుకుంటాం. అలా వెళ్ళినప్పుడు వాళ్ళు అక్కడ ఏం చేస్తారు, రైట్ అబౌట్ యువర్ ఫ్యామిలీ అని అంటారు. అంటే మీ ఫ్యామిలీ గురించి లేదా ఏదైనా ఒక కథలాగా రాయమని అడుగుతారు. అప్పుడు మనం ఏం చేయాలి అంటే మన పేరేంటి, మనం ఎక్కడి నుంచి వచ్చాము, దేనికోసం వచ్చాము, అలాగే మన లైఫ్ లో జరిగిన మెయిన్ ఇన్సిడెంట్. అంటే నేను ఇట్లా ఇది చదవాలి అనుకున్నా, ఈ టర్నింగ్ పాయింట్ లో నేను ఇది చదువుదాం అనుకున్నాను. అలాగే రైజింగ్ యాక్షన్, అలా అనుకున్నప్పుడు మనము ఏం చేయాలనుకున్నాం అంటే ఎక్కడికి వెళ్ళి చదివితే మనకి మంచిగా ఉంటుంది అన్నది అనుకున్నాము. ఫైనల్ గా క్లైమాక్స్ ఏంటి, ఓకే నేను ఇది ఫిక్స్ అయ్యి ఫలానా చోట చదువుకుంటే నాకు బాగుంటుంది బాగుంటుంది అన్న థాట్ తో నేను ఇక్కడికి వచ్చాను. అలాగే ఫాలోయింగ్ యాక్షన్, నేను ఇలా వచ్చే టైంలో దీనికి కొన్ని ఇబ్బందులు ఉంటే అవి ఫేస్ చేశాను, అవన్నీ దాటుకుని ఫైనల్ గా నేను ఈ పలానా చోట చదువుకోవడానికి వచ్చాను అని రాసుకోవచ్చు స్టోరీ. అలాగే ఈ స్టోరీ మొత్తానికి థీమ్ ఏంటి అంటే గనక, ఈ చెప్పినటువంటి క్రిస్మస్ డే తర్వాత జరిగిన ఇది లెటర్ దొరికింది. మొత్తానికి థీమ్ ఏంటి అంటే లవ్, మెమరీ, అలాగే హ్యుమానిటీ ఇన్ వార్. ఆ వార్ కూడా కొంత ఆగింది, ఈ లెటర్ రాసే టైంకి ఆ వార్ అనేది కొంత ఆగింది. అండ్ ద లాస్టింగ్ పవర్ ఆఫ్ ద లవ్, మెమరీ, హ్యుమానిటీ ఇన్ ద వార్, అండ్ ద లాస్టింగ్ పవర్ ఆఫ్ హోప్ అండ్ లెటర్స్. అంటే హోప్ అనేది ఎంతో కొంత ఉంది అని చెప్పారు. ఈ లెటర్ మొత్తం ఒక రెండు దేశాల మధ్య జరిగిన యుద్ధం కొంచెం తగ్గిన తర్వాత ఎలా అయితే లవ్ అనేది ఉంటుందో, హ్యుమానిటీ ఉందో వారిలో అన్నది మెన్షన్ చేశారు. ఇదే కాదు, మనం ఏ స్టోరీ రాయాలన్నా సరే ఈ 6 పాయింట్స్ ని బేస్ చేసుకుని మనం స్టోరీ అనేది నెరేట్ అంటే రాసుకోవచ్చు అని చెప్పారు. ఇదేంటి ఈ 6 పాయింట్స్ ఉన్నది అంటే ఫ్రైథాగస్ పిరమిడ్ ఆఫ్ ప్లాట్ స్ట్రక్చర్. ఈ 6 పాయింట్స్ ని బేస్ చేసుకుని ఏ స్టోరీ అయినా మనం నెరేట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. ఓకే
Thank
మ్యామ్.
you, ma'am. So, if anybody would like to on their video and share their feedback, unmute and share their feedback about today's class, request one of the schools to unmute and share their feedback. Okay.
ఎవరైనా క్లాస్ ఎలా ఉంది ఏంటి అన్నది చెప్పాలనుకుంటే ఒకసారి మీ మైక్ ని అన్మ్యూట్ చేసుకుని మేడం తో చెప్పొచ్చు క్లాస్ ఎలా ఉంది ఏంటి అన్నది.
Okay, Ganesh, so we can wind up the class. So, children will meet up in the next class with another topic. Before that, let's end today's session. Jai Vidya Shakti, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.